All right, welcome back to the Resonant State, the the world's most popular podcast, at least in my estimation. And so now, who cares about popularity, right? When you're discussing current events here at this very interesting um, juncture of global historical events, sort of epoch making. Of course, there's always multiple perspectives to have on this. And, one of the important perspectives is to recognize that, we are part of this vast cosmos or we are connected with it. And so, the even the particular the current events in Iran were weighted until they had a particular alignment, right? Planetary alignment was so that was all set up, and it's very difficult to tell what the end game or end strategies are. I certainly hope that it is. I mean, of course, it's terrible and not. It's one of the most blundering errors I can think of, but hopefully it's not a backdoor way to collapse America, which is possible, but hopefully not. But anyways,
Mhm.
Luke, and I think the conspiracy trivia, I'll post that up. So that's still going, right?
It sure
So
is.
yeah.
It's
All right. I
much
already put
advanced. Yep, my coder got displaced a little bit by AI, so he's back to a 35-hour work week, and we're back to humming. Yep, off
All
ahead.
right, so I'll have that with the code there for the promo code to join the game. And if people want to see, you can look back at earlier episodes that we've looked at this. So Luke, how's it going? And I'll just let you dive in and whatever you'd like to discuss.
Excellent. It's going pretty good. I'm gonna take pretty full and loose reins at times, and we're definitely gonna solve the Israel potential backdoor into U.S. vulnerability issue during this show. So stay tuned. It's won't be too dramatic. Yeah, surprisingly easy, I would think, but we'll see how you all agree with us or not, or how Hans agrees with me. I'm gonna, start by just with that note, very much embracing the mystical possibilities. Overnight, Hans could become twice as much as the next most popular podcaster in the world. This could happen overnight. I'm actually I think it would fit just about better than anything else I can imagine too. Yes,
Yeah, well, I'll just say one thing. I mean,
fully eclipsed,
um,
dominating. No, just kidding,
well,
guys.
sorry to
Setting the
interrupt, but
example, in a rather seismic and prophetic way.
well, it's one of the things to recognize just about being a human being or a if you are at least conscious, we're always moving into a manifestational field continuously. A lot of people don't recognize that, right? It's very easy to just keep going around the same things, and obviously, well, if you get into sort of higher energetic stuff, it's a lot more complex. But generally speaking, in life, you can make a choice. How do you frame your narrative of your life? You can make that conscious choice. What works for me, what doesn't, right? If you choose to have a narrative of defeat, suffering, even I sort of harp on this quite a bit, but for example, depression. I say I'm depressed. Someone says they're depressed. That is you have now taken a narrative. You have inserted yourself into a pre-constructed past, present, future timeline that is optional. You don't have to go in that. What you're experiencing at this moment or these configuration of states, this doesn't have to last, right? You can always find your way out of it if you're able to recognize that you can move into we're always moving into the future, you know what I mean? That's the thing, and
Mhm.
in a sense it's very important. So all right, Luke, yeah, well, but basically the optionality, right? That's the thing we have. For example, there's much larger forces. You have to be aware of your actual, what is the actual environment, what is actually happening. This is very important, right?
Mhm.
So
Yep. I think
and
that,
then
yeah.
what's the best way to work within that? And at least in my experience, you're always going to find a way as long as you permit that possibility.
That's so absolutely true, and that's the crystal key there at the end. But it's and we touched on this in the last show, and I think it's, or maybe in both the previous shows. But getting to that choice, really first, just deciding that you are going to pay attention to the situation, that you're gonna refine down your perspective, just commit, yeah, to realizing that you are a person with an individual will in this, and finding yourself, finding those choices, and then finding that, so that's with that space, you're able to figure out, do I feel good about my choices or not? Do I feel oppressed or do I feel empowered? And how do I lean toward that empowerment? Or how do I, if I, yeah, there's no clear empowerer, yeah, what is that subtle place and how do I lean into that, and a sense of prayer and a sense of cultivating it within yourself. I think that's humongously key as we get into these chaotic times, and we address things like you've been addressing on your show for a long time, how people are in very grasping mental states at times, and we're in pretty calm times relatively. It's something that's amazing to me how we can embody this much incursion without really anything that's pushing us on a critical level at all, for the vast majority of people.
Yeah, no, that's, I mean, the optionality, but I think also, and I'll hopefully continue with the show I started on this thing on Heidegger and Nietzsche, which is a very important examination of the will, and how that actually works. And the fact is, most people don't even recognize what this is, right? And so, in a sense, when you activate your will, you're moving outside of, it's actually outside of your consciousness. Okay, it's outside of, meaning that yes, you have to be conscious of it, but it's coming in from outside. It's a gathering of your entirety of yourself.
Mhm.
And this is something everyone has maybe experienced this in their life. There's certain things where you do it. But the other thing is that you don't always, the application of will, once you clear, you don't need to do it all the time. I mean, obviously it takes a lot of energy and effort. If you get things in the right, trajectory and right kind of type of flow states, and your conscious mind doesn't have to do so much work if you're able to figure that out, right? But then
Yeah.
this requires clarity, um and just recognizing, okay, I'm doing this, something seems off, well, then just see what it is, right? It's um you know and sort of a fearlessness, I think, which probably comes through a sense of, you have to feel a sense of larger connection. Maybe you don't feel it, but you acknowledge this is possible. I'm going to allow myself to feel it. Something is affecting me negatively. I'm going to choose to, move towards some, higher state. And it becomes, as you do it more, it becomes more powerful. If you don't have that option available, then you're really stuck in your own bubble. And that's exactly where they want people to be for a control system, right?
Yep. You have the options. It is possible. Remember. So we open up the astrological context here. Uh,
This first PowerPoint to the stage.
yep. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah. You
here we are.
do the
Okay,
activation.
okay, go ahead.
So at this very moment, we are experiencing the conjunction of Saturn and Neptune. These are two outer planets, meaning they're beyond the asteroid belt. They're beyond us, beyond Mars, which is next to us. So they move. There's, yeah, basically the inner planets, which revolve around the sun, and roughly Venus is linked to the sun. The sun is going around. Venus is kind of buzzing, and Mercury also, yes, are buzzing around the sun. And these outer planets are moving with the sun. So it is almost like Venus and Mercury are satellites relative to this orbital relationship of the planets. But more or less, yeah, Venus is like half an Earth year or two-thirds of an Earth year. Mercury a little bit less, and then Mars about 2 years orbit around the sun. And when you get into Saturn, you're getting to 30 years. So much more of a collective timekeeper, longer term, yeah, click in the wheel. And Neptune, much longer. Neptune, 180 years, 6 times Saturn. The second most outer planet, or second furthest out planet that we're calculating in the solar system. Pluto being the furthest out, definitely still a planet, my opinion, definitely carrying some weight. So Neptune and Saturn coming together, and this is, um, oh, yes, yeah. I'm gonna slide through a little bit just to.
Just real quick, if you have, I don't know if you have I can't access my social media platforms from this particular computer, but if you want to share this live stream so we get some more viewers, I don't know if you have like,
Yeah,
let's see. So if you just go,
I've been testing my social media quite a bit. That's
okay, yeah, if you want to just go to YouTube Let me see if I can.
Oh, okay, currently,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. You can. So we're right now on YouTube, the Resonant State on YouTube. You can just open that up, and then you can go ahead and just share that live stream with your fan base.
nice.
Okay.
I've been just starting to test the waters. Yeah, like that. I've accumulated friends of many different dispositions on Facebook, and I'm kind of a people's person in a community sense.
Mhm.
Uh, got a lot of older people and different, um, yeah, wholesome. Not that this isn't wholesome; it's absolutely wholesome, but I guess yeah, very family friendly oriented type of connections. But at the same time, I think everybody's ready. I do. Yeah, I'm feeling a lot more invitational. Yeah, recently, I think that's a good thing to embrace. Yeah, definitely nobody's gonna hate me for it, and I think I could get a lot more people who realize how inspired our connection could be. Oh, actually, I'm not logged in on this computer, but I'm gonna do it on my phone
Okay.
while we're.
I'll
While
just, yeah. So I'm going to be doing a big show. Uh, you can go ahead and get that set up, and I'll just kind of
yeah,
speak on. So I'm going to be doing a number of dropping a number of shows here shortly. Just kind of got backlogged with that. I do not. Oh gosh, we lost one of our viewers. Oh well. Anyways, so but
yeah.
we see that we are in a very very important conjunction of so many different things, and whether or not personally, people usually assume astrology is something with, like, you read in your daily horoscope or whatever, you think of the whatever, love advice or whatever, your star sign. This the fact is that these conjunctions have had massive impact, and they create sort of a potentiality, a field of, you could say, energy flows, things that are working, not working. This has been known about for a long time, and having ignorance of this, not being aware of it, obviously is not something you want to be necessarily obsessed with, but to understand it. Okay, there is a science behind it, and there's many things that have been sort of excluded or occulted from our current, the scientific establishment. Well, just because it's not fitting into the
Mm,
potentialities or protocols, which is primarily a materialistic basis, right? This idea everything is just matter. Well, this is, again, this is another type of, it's a limiting belief system, and it's a choice. Well, is that true in your experience? I mean, are we just hackable animals? Yuval Harari, this is what they
mm,
would like to assert for us, that we're just basically just these bundles of instincts, and things are sort of like computer hard drives, and we've got operational, we have memories stored in our brains, and then that's all we are. We're just animals with this consciousness, which is,
mm,
consciousness is simply just an artifact of the brain. Does that seem like that's true to you? You may want to explore that just to the
mm,
listener and say, well, is that true or not? Just because somebody says it's true, what is their agenda? Where are they coming from? What level of knowledge do they have? Are they hampered by their particular belief system? Are they choosing to impose a belief system that they don't hold onto you through their position of authority, right?
mhm.
So, all right. Anyways, look, you can go ahead and dive back in. Yep.
Excellent. Yeah, I couldn't find it on Facebook. You might need to send me a link.
It just go on YouTube. I have not posted on
Oh,
Facebook.
on YouTube. Oh, I don't have a following on YouTube. I'm sorry. I thought you said.
Oh,
Uh,
you can just post it on Facebook if you want from the YouTube link.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah, we have
I've
we're
done a lot of promotional
our
work.
our, our, our viewers, they're dwindling.
Okay, let's. All right, so well liven it up just for a second. I'll jump on this too. But Saturn Neptune, it is lively and it is meaningful and is definitely affecting you. And the more that you activate yourself right now, the more that you will realize that there is a response, and the universe is responding. It is responding in a particular way, and it's especially responding to certain archetypes, which are very much characterized by Saturn and Neptune getting together. And so, yeah, very much hugely affirming what Hans is saying. And this is a way to kind of even to level that up, as well as to discover it in an objective and empirical way if you want to kind of juxtapose where you're at with this energy setting and where you are in a few months from now, when it's a little bit different but it's still active. because we're in some big deal territory here. But yeah, Saturn in the system, Neptune is the dream, the subconscious, um, and so much else. But I'm gonna just touch on these most basic kind of characterizations of Saturn and Neptune to get a sense of the characters in our story. We have Saturn, who is in Greek Chronos. Saturn is the system. Saturn is the structure, law, limitations, deceleration. Some would say it's the brakes. If Mars is the gas, Saturn is the brakes. Stubborn forces, longevity, hard work, routine, securities, as in a financial security. Security is in personal security of a, well, not personal, but yeah, in the context of your fort or your community, um, and even your financial situation, financial markets and insurance. Yeah, definitely kind of notable tying that together, that sense of stability in the infrastructure of finance. And Satan, yeah, Saturn, Satan. There's a lot of speculation there, as well as relating Saturn to the God of the Old Testament, or that Old Testament characterization of God, and agriculture, very much in the Roman world. So, yeah, Saturn and Neptune. Neptune, a little bit further out, more mysterious. It gets into this kind of shadowy, yeah, misty outer edges of the solar system, and it's characterized, associated with traffic flowing through the structure of Saturn, the infrastructure level of flow of people and information, ideas, resources, and especially fluids, water, and even more so water from deep underground, or oil. Oil is, yeah, kind of thick, um, dense medium that is flowing underground in mysterious ways. Very much a Neptunian indicator there. Um, Deception and illusion, intrigue, mystery, and intrigue, deception and illusion, drugs, gambling, temptation, revisioning of society, chemicals, gassy chemicals, most especially microbes and illness, money, currency, and spiritual movements. So these two planets are getting together and merging these energies. So I've heard it described in terms of the proximity in the sky. That would be the angle of our horizon, not the exact place, because these planets are, again, at different distances from the sun. So they're never going to be on top of each other, literally, in three-dimensional space. They're going to be in a two-dimensional sense, it's quasi three-dimensional. They're going to be in the same degree in the sky. So if I point to the sky, I would be pointing a line through Saturn and into Neptune. Uh,
Great. Luke, sorry to take off your flow there. I did send look at the private chat. I just sent you the link for the YouTube live, so you can go ahead and share that.
okay.
So that's there if you look at the private chat. But yeah, so these things. I mean, one of you know, um, you don't you never. I don't think an individual ideally is never going to be. You can't be completely externalized as to what's happening. But on the other hand, to encompass the sensitivity and notice that, okay, I do, you will feel if you start to expand your sensitivity to some of these things. Now, maybe it's a very subtle impact, but you can see that these things do affect us, right? Whether it's solar, I mean, some people are not sensitive to this stuff at all, but for example, solar flares, solar activity, you may feel a bit off or may have some types of inputs into your system that they can be a bit destabilizing or very intense. But if you recognize, okay, wait, this is not coming from anything in me, it's just from my sensitivity to what's happening, you know what I mean? Um and one of the interesting facets just of the human brain, which is a great it's both very good and very potentially damaging, is that things that you don't need to think about will be you won't your brain will not necessarily think about them, right? They'll just become background, right? They won't be directly apparent. So it's one of those things, more like an opening. Do you feel differently, right? Do you notice it? Or if you try something, is something going to happen? But I think it's a sensitivity to that with clear perception, right? Not with projection, right? Or some people, I think I've seen, like in India, my I probably mentioned this in a previous broadcast, but this guy, he was I think he was about 86 at the time, but he was the father of my sister-in-law. My father of my brother-in-law, and so he was from a long lineage of royal court astrologers in Mysore, and so he could do all these calculations in his head. Right, it was basically, he didn't do it professionally, but he would, he basically go through and he would just do calculations and saying, okay, don't go here at this time. Or that's where I found out about the Rahu Kal, right? The Rahu Kal, a particular time. And if I said this anecdote before, I'll repeat it because it's pretty fascinating. He stated that, okay, well, you're going to be, you'll be back at the house. We were in Calcutta. He said, you'll be back here at 5:45. And I said, there's no way that's going to happen. And I totally forgot he had said that. He said, I'll see you at 5:45. And all these various scenarios happened, a dozen different eventualities. And then when I showed up, we got back to the place, in Calcutta. I'm like, wow, I was like, whoa, it is exactly 5:45. I would never have thought that was even possible because there, just dozens of different events. Somebody wasn't home, had travel, et cetera, et cetera. So there is something to that, right? There's something there. And I've experienced myself, especially with technological things. Um, if you say if I'm setting up a new computer system or I'm starting a new project, and a lot of times I'm doing something and suddenly I have all these issues or glitches or things are breaking, and then my wife's like, oh, did you start doing Rahu Kal? And I'm like, I didn't even look. And I'm like, I did. And it literally, I've seen that happen enough times. Not that you don't want to do stuff, but it's just to be aware that these things do have impacts and influences.
Hmm. Yeah, it's very true. And I think part of it too is the interaction with the setting, and the dynamic setting, the live charged particular setting that we have at any given period of time. And some of these things like Saturn Neptune hang out for months. So yeah, they are setting quite a whole season of a stage, and other things that are smaller and they're all interacting, moving together in incalculably dynamic ways ultimately. But when you're picking up on certain themes and feeling a certain way in yourself, maybe you're also starting to pick up on a different, yes, kind of theme in headlines or conversations, just things that you happen to notice, little details in a restaurant, whatnot. These types of synchronistic themes usually are matching in some way with how we're relating, to the astrological setting, and definitely find that, really fun to explore as you're if you just holding the thought of Neptune Saturn itself. I've definitely found a lot of subtle ways that I've been able to steer, even in the midst of a conversation with a stranger, and just in very small ways, how I'm able to posture myself to bring that into a positive, positive use, uh, and just like a subtle little insight. I'm thinking about something, maybe could have gone any different way, but I just sense that extra, bit of this particular brew. Sipped it right at that moment and came up with a different insight than I ever had before. And, I think that's uh, a great playful way to do it as well. So I'm gonna then step back. So we have Saturn Neptune. That is our most immediate focus, but it's happening in the context or in this bigger scene of a triple convergence of major astrological patterns. And 2026 marks the ripening of these patterns. So we're very much now in it. It's been brewing, building, everything, kind of different pieces coming to the scene, and now we are most definitely in it. Not in anything too crazy, which is awesome. I think it's fascinating, how well the system has adapted to all this. But but there is one piece actually that is not fully active now, so I say that with a caveat. But in essence, here's our big background. We have war cycles relating to the United States, about 80-year cycle. So every 80 years, we have had a major war. 1780 Revolutionary War, 1860 Civil, 1940 World War II. 2020 started off with COVID. Might think that that is the big manifestation, but that happened a little too early. We're just now actually seeing the things that were major significances for the prior wars are just now all activating. So don't think that we're through the woods just because we went through COVID. probably more of a setup, and actually more of a relatively minor type of thing. But 1775 and 6 was the Revolutionary War, starting into 1783. That was kind of setting up for the first U.S. Congress. Uranus in Gemini and Pluto in Aquarius. Civil War, Uranus in Gemini and the last degree of Neptune in Pisces into Neptune in Aries. 1940 to 45, World War II, Uranus in Gemini. And I say an 83-year cycle because that's the full revolution of Uranus around the sun, and Uranus being, the planet of big shakeups, war, surprising activations, and Gemini, the twins, which can be the warring twins, the dichotomy, the division of society, the the imbalanced and undecisive mind of the collective right now. And so with these three events, we had Uranus and Gemini all three times. We also had Pluto and Aquarius during the Revolutionary War, Neptune and Aries during the Civil War. All three of these will be overlapping starting in 2025. So this has begun as of last year with this official overlap of these three significations, and all three overlap about every 500 years. So last time was going back to the peak of the Renaissance and the Protestant Reformation. Some big shakeups in that period. Now, let's see. So I'm back to my view. Now here we are now. Also, Pluto and Aquarius, very big deal with that one. It's a 250-year cycle. It correlates with major formative events in history going back millennia, including affecting religion, government, and technology especially. So that began this time around, March 2023, alongside the revolutionary launch of ChatGPT and AI technology to the public, and it's now in full swing until 2044. So that's the longest of any of the effects that we're going to be talking about. Pluto Aquarius, 20 years. And that one is very profound, as we've gone through in previous episodes. I'm going to touch on kind of a snapshot of it later in this one. But Pluto Aquarius, absolutely profound. So here we are now, Neptune Aries, Pluto in Aquarius, Uranus in Gemini. We have Neptune in Aries from 2025 until 2039. We'll have Pluto in Aquarius, like I said, until 2044. And we'll have Uranus in Gemini until 2033. So Gemini, Uranus will be in Gemini for about 7 years. And that's the tightest, kind of these activations, except for Neptune Saturn, which we'll get to here in just a second. Because, let's see, I have some setup here. Before we touch on Neptune Saturn, one last recap note. Look at 2023 when Pluto went into Aquarius and set these major, a series of major activations into motion. That was not only the release of ChatGPT, it was also banks failing and the economy rebounding quickly, but it was also the movies Oppenheimer, the movie Civil War. This was the build up to the 2024 election, or kind of the initial drum beating leading to the 2024 presidential election campaigning. Political and social divide was escalating. Some divides in Christianity between Israel and Christianity, global political division broadly, China versus US, Russia versus Ukraine, Israel versus Palestine, and of course the AI revolution. So 2026, all these things are still going, still getting weirder. And not only is Neptune in Aries, as just described, part of this activation, it entered Aries alongside Saturn. They're joining in the same place in the sky. They did February 20th of this year, about 2.5 weeks ago, exactly in the same place in the sky. That was the moment, but slow moving, so basically just opened the door, and now things are coming through for almost 2 solid months, but more or less 3 or 4 months. And as we'll see, there's an even broader kind of tapering to that. So in astrology, called a conjunction, the planets conjoin the sky, and it is one of the primary significations of astrology. It's the completing and beginning of a new relationship between these two planets, a new chapter, the relationship, essentially, or a whole new cycle. So it is the key formative event for these two planets' relationship, and it links to Russia going through major changes, revolution and succession in Russia, Saturn and Neptune. So Saturn and Neptune are in the same place in the sky roughly every 36 years because they're slow and they retrograde and appear to move backwards in the sky from perspective of Earth they, it could be up to 38 years. Sometimes it's in terms of the first step, into that conjunction to the next first step of into the conjunction. So, a little play, but 36 to 37 years usually. And we can start looking at the Bolshevik Revolution, communist movement in China, catalyzing 1917 as World War One. It was kind of crossing its climax, and that was, very dramatic, bloody, and um, and just unprecedented, type of move in Russia. 1917, people who really didn't have a lot to do with the legacy of Russian people prior to that. Swept in, took advantage of major destabilization, and
That's an understatement.
yeah, right.
And just to to state that this the Russian Revolution was directly tied. They waited for very specific moments for, storming the palace, etc. Right. So there's a book called Under the Sign of the Scorpion that talks about all this stuff, and it was absolutely the sort of the founding fathers of communism were very much aware of these things and used them directly into this. So it's something that there's quite a lot, at least through this book. Like they waited to an exact time, right? To the
Mhm.
minute and second for particular things. So yeah, and they knew this was not accidental, right? They were very aware of this,
Yeah.
of these things. The Lenin and all these other wonderful people that brought us, the same continuing process, right?
Mhm.
That we're sort of in a stage of this, but yeah, go ahead,
Mhm.
look.
Yep,
So
exactly. So we had that Bolshevik Revolution. Yeah, that very much revolutionized Russia into a communist country, and set an example for the world. Major communist country. And then Stalin's death, exactly 36 years later, 1953, also with the exact conjunction of Neptune and Saturn. So Stalin, he was the guy. He was, that central pillar of communist Russia. And when he died, it began the liberalization. We'll get into a little bit more of that, comment on some of the CSS content. So then, yeah.
let me just read. This is just a paragraph from that book I mentioned. I'll read one paragraph here. So, the Soviet Empire was established at 4 minutes past 2 o'clock on the 8th of November, 1917, in the Russian capital Petrograd. In astrological terms, the sun was just then precisely at the center of the sign of Scorpio. Thus, Scorpio can be regarded as a symbol and guardian of Soviet power. The planet Pluto, in turn, affects those under the direct influence of Scorpio. In the past, Mars was said to rule Scorpio, but since Pluto's discovery in 1930 and its subsequent integration into the astrological system, it has assumed its rightful place in the sign of Scorpio. The effects of Pluto even before its discovery, have always been the same, whether or not they were attributed to another planet. The fact that the Soviet Empire was born under the wrong planet demonstrates the inscrutable nature of Pluto, which does not show its true face until the time is ripe to restructure power to its own advantage. It has recently been revealed that the Bolsheviks were well versed in astrology. So it goes on, talking more about Scorpio. But so I just wanted to mention that you mentioned that Russian Revolution. So this again, this aspect was very much consecrated, so to speak, by including also the Tsar and other things like that. So I just wanted to share that. Go
Hmm.
ahead, Luke.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And looking at the astrology chart for that, 1917, the sun was in the middle of Scorpio, roughly the beginning of March, 1917, and it was conjunct Mars. Yeah, so we have Mars and the sun basically broadcasting Mars in that moment. But yeah, that's very layered and shows a lot of distinguished understanding of astrology. Yeah, the way that they would poetically put that together, as they did very many things. I mean, these were extremely intelligent people, and extremely manipulative. And I mean, Neptune selling the dream is very much a Neptune thing. Neptune is the ultimate used car salesman. He's the used car salesman that comes with a free weekend at a casino. He's yeah, he's very convincing, and not always that gimmicky. Very much so can be the crafting, of a dream of an entire nation. And yeah, these people they pushed it through. And then when Stalin died, yeah, we had kind of their cousin forces, basically moving in after the country had been plundered, and rough, oppressive industry had been attempted one way, failed. Stalin dies, and the globalists, start to move in. 1953, and then that was exactly 36 years again from the collapse of the USSR. So again, Saturn and Neptune exactly in the same place in the sky in 1989, and USSR fails. So we have that, pretty nice and neat. But we very clearly since then have been in a certain Putin-esque Russia. Putin defined Russia.
I'm just going to finish the reading this page
Yeah,
from this
yeah.
Troy Lena book. Yeah, like I said, it goes in more detail. This is just like the first page of the introduction, but this ties in exactly what you're saying. So, Scorpio's field of influence includes power and financial developments at the expense of others. This is why the power mongers of Scorpio need to stick together to establish a political mafia. In other words, Pluto in Scorpio also involves certain hidden circumstances which are revealed only with the passing of time. The astrologer E. Uh, Troinsky claimed as early as 1956 that the Soviet Empire would break up at the beginning of the 1990s. Due to their vindictiveness, cunning, brutality, and art of dissembling, the wards of Scorpio are characterized as extremely dangerous opponents. Those under the power of Scorpio are deeply materialistic extremists who like to exploit others and neither forgive nor forget. If their aims are crossed, they become possessed by fury. They stop at nothing to reach these aims. Their true nature remains shrouded in mystery. Scorpio's color is red, and its symbols are the vulture, the snake, and the lifeless desert. In
Mm.
the animal kingdom, the scorpion is known as a poisonous creature that prefers the cover of darkness. It has been known to sting others of its kind if they get in its way. Okay.
Mm. That's of ambitious Scorpios. That is accurate. Um, yeah, multiple people I was able to envision, and that molded right onto them. So that's impressive. For 1917, it really makes me want to look at what astrological sources they were reading. I've not dove into that, but it's really curious. They definitely have just the same well-formed Western astrological perspective that I would read today. Um, but also I've never heard it said, quite that accurately for certain people that definitely have the ambitious Scorpio, power player Scorpio disposition. Yeah, that's bitingly accurate. And yeah, to see that unpack. So yeah, look good, and that's well, yeah, we'll get to like the looking good on paper, not good in practicality. They're basically laying that out for you beforehand, laying that out for themselves or whoever they were authoring that to. I don't know when that went public. Do you happen to know that document, or when that kind of got circulated?
This guy, I believe he was from, or I think he's still alive, but he's from Lithuania or some, in another one of those Soviet republics. So he was able to actually access the archives, the Soviet, maybe he's Swiss. This is Stockholm 2002, but he was able to access all these previously hidden documents, right? In the actual archives. Now, a lot of those documents subsequently disappeared. So this was around the 90s to 2000s that he was able to go into these archives and examine this stuff and see that these are indicated in the actual records of the archives of the state. For this, and this includes also the killing of the czar was also, again, in a line to the minute and second. Not very detailed understanding of this stuff, much more than your average person.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, I almost want to jump some, but I have to reload or load a new document to get to it. But that, is a window behind the scenes where you see, not only does astrology correlate with things organically, in the world, but also people can be very intentional with it. And as I've mentioned, it's so intricate that there is infinitely much intentionality that you can put into it, that you can dial in, very much fine tune. And so big event, yeah, like this, like the formation of communist Russia, seeing how much intentionality was put into it and documented, not intended to be shared with the broad public. But you get that years and years later, see exactly how it unfolded. And just now, as we're really fully dissecting it, through conspiratorial lenses and whatnot, and you're realizing, how intentional it was. And the Federal Reserve, I was doing a bunch of different, brush ups of on my research, this past week, and I noticed, one thing about Neptune, and I was thinking about the different Neptune events and organizations, people, that I've researched, and the Federal Reserve, very much one because Neptune, associated with money, currency, infrastructure, finances, um, in the sense of the flow of it. Saturn's the structure. Yeah, Neptune is the actual flow, the actual buzz of the stock market, the actual kind of intrigue of the deal, and on a high level, especially. So Neptune, representing the high finance elite, and they definitely worship Neptune in so many different ways. But if you look at a chart, which I'll pull up here in a little bit, for the foundation of the Federal Reserve, I was thinking, okay, Federal Reserve founded in 1910, a little bit before this, World War One period, with Saturn and Neptune together, but maybe there is some sort of setup of Neptune leading to that 6 years prior, which would just be in the prior sign, for Neptune, or even the same sign, because it moves slowly. And I looked up where they went to Jekyll Island, November 20th of 1910. These big bankers, and conceived of the Federal Reserve, and it is one of the most exactly precise charts at 3:33 p.m. on the day they arrived at Jekyll Island. Just absurdly, intricately perfect looking, and devilish. So we'll get to that. But it's, you don't get a lot of those windows where you see something that Jekyll Island was not supposed to be made public, or there's no. It definitely was. They peeked it out, and gave little little reveals to the financial, especially news, but other news sources, which is still not the most widely read at that time. But also, I'm not sure, how much they divulged, but it took a long, long time in some books before people realized the actual gravity and secrecy that went
Well,
into the formation of it. But
well,
now we see that how
well,
astrologically included that, their plan was.
well, and in fact, so they had the actual hearings was like right, I think, right before Christmas or whatever the holiday, and there was like three people in the Senate, right?
Mhm.
Nobody was there. Everybody had left, so it was completely, run through. Now there was a number of people at the time that started talking about it, but a lot of them had their careers shut down, and it just became relegated to the realm of, I mean, I guess the main person. Was Eustace Mullins, who did the research. He had access to, he was at the Library of Congress, and so he was able to get a lot of these original documents. Other people borrowed his research, which I won't mention their names, but basically he was like the first one to go through with the actual documents because it was completely hidden, and it was actually his mentor Ezra Pound, the great poet, who actually was also quite. Very much involved in economics and stuff like that. So it was actually Ezra Pound that knew about this whole movement. And Ezra Pound had been locked. He was locked into a mental hospital, right? They put him in a mental hospital to get
Mhm.
him out. He finally got released, but he was basically, just get rid of this guy, get him off the map. But so that's not necessarily a tangent, but I mean, there's that, we could even, you probably look at the timing. I think it was done like very late at night, I believe, the Senate hearing, et cetera, so this stuff was, I, the thing is that if you're aware of this stuff and clearly aware of it, even if you're doing something right, you get a little bit of a amplification of your intention, right, by being understanding this stuff. Um,
That's
but
right. And I'm gonna run with that tangent just a little bit, even though we're using time here. It's something I've meant to do in prior episodes also that I don't think I did. If I did, you could stop me. But I just to give you big props and give a little window into how I got into this research. I was working for an organic grocery delivery service that was kind of the startup and the first one in the Midwest region of the United States. A little bootstrapped operation, and I was driving, the delivery truck and managing the groceries for this company. and I was dropping off a donation of leftover produce at a free store food bank. And I look on the wall, and there's a plaque of donors, and the top donor is named John Jacob Schiff. And I start singing in my head, John Jacob Jingleheimer Schiff, rah, 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 John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. And I wondered, is it actually John Jacob Schiff? Look at this prominent guy. Maybe has the same name as his grandfather. His grandfather was the dude that the jingle's written after that my grandma told me about. And so I was singing this all the way home, and I go home and I look up John Jacob Schiff, and it turns out that he is of the same rootstock of the Schiff banking family, the elite Schiff banking family of the United States that basically funded both sides of World War II and World War One, and Napoleon and everything else. Rothschild arm. You got in the United States, the Schiff Kuhn Loeb Company was a very prominent house in New York, and Eustace Mullins. I look up John Jacob Schiff, the original New York banker from the early 1900s, and I found Eustace Mullins, books, and Federal Reserve, the Anglo-American Society, I think, it was one of his books, and then I found Tragedy and Hope, and that was my breakthrough into conspiracy theory, 2012. So I found Jan Irvin. I basically found Tragedy and Hope, the platform that was a rebrand by Richard Grove, reviving the original Tragedy and Hope by Carol Quigley, which revealed a lot of basically the setup throughout the 20th century, between 19th and 20th centuries of the globalist order. And I was on tragedyandhope.com, and I see at the bottom a list of friends of Tragedy and Hope, recommended resources. I picked up Jan Irvin, where I found Hans Sutter almost immediately, and pretty much Tragedy and Hope, Jan and Hans, and Corbett Report, which was also on there. James Corbett were my library. I lived in your all's work for 3 or 4 years, and then came back and did another strong few years after that, where you all were my go-to, my guides, my introduction into the great and many layers of history. So I hugely appreciate it. Hans was kind of like a mentor, and I even had a dream of Hans one time. That's what made me email him. I had a dream we were playing basketball.
At least it wasn't something else. That's good. Yeah,
But,
well, that's
you know,
great. Um,
uh,
but I think you can see, like I said, this we these things do. You can see major events and being aligned with these conjunctions. And it's not obviously they're choosing. They have an option, and there's particular times. If you look at that, you can see things. But
yeah.
as we continue on with this, uh, so we're looking at the Neptune and Saturn. So where are we right now? Like what are we looking at? What do you think we're looking at unfolding? What are good
Mhm.
opportunities? What are things to avoid? Where are we right now if you look at this modeling you brought up?
That's a great yeah. Um, let's see. So I'm going to jump into a little bit further because it kind of can be described in the data. To see what has set up, and how these kind of characterizations, how these characteristics and qualities of Saturn and Neptune are particularly active in this development stage. So they're in a unique development together, and they're hanging out in Aries. So Aries is the first sign, a fire sign. It's the first sign of the zodiac because the sun enters Aries at the spring equinox. And traditionally, in the old world, a lot of civilizations, if not most, started their year at the spring equinox. That was the revival point, and so people started getting out and about. So that was their new year, and so Aries, it's very active, it's very springy, it's very prompt and formative, in a childlike way. It just kind of runs with it, and that's where we're at right now. So it does seem like things have escalated ever since February 20th, when that exact conjunction happened, and they'll be hanging out in Aries for a couple months. So this Rives document, this kind of I'm going to dash through this a little bit because it'll show the setup, the immediate setup, and where we're at right now, and then we can kind of speculate. So Saturn and Neptune They became very close to conjunct last summer, 2025. They were half a degree away at the end of Pisces. So very, very close, but not quite shaking hands yet. So I've heard it described as if two planets are in the same sign of the zodiac, they're in the same property, they're like occupying the same castle. And if they're in the same, or a 3 degree orb of each other in the same very close proximity in the sky, but not together, exactly, they're in the same room. And if they are on top of each other, they're in intimate engagement, yeah, close conversation in bed together, and yeah, really moving and shaking. And so Saturn and Neptune are no longer exactly on top of each other. I think they're still within 1 degree. So we are basically in, yeah, still the like the impulse, the yeah, the potency of their exact conjunction. And sometimes that's not always the most kind of bright expression of it, an obvious expression of it, but it does mean that those two energies are brewing. So like behind the scenes and yeah, individual lives, very much in play, yeah, in a formative way. And they became really close to conjunct last summer. So some events that we saw, yeah, July 1st, NASA discovered the interstellar comet 3I Atlas and captivated the curiosity of the planet. That stemmed into alien disclosure, the alien disclosure movement, and the big documentary that came out some months later, the Age of Disclosure, and that alien, yeah, the ramp up and kind of people knocking at the door, trying to see the aliens that has persisted since then. So it does feel like that's, yeah, an activation that is only going to kind of move from the setup into the, yeah, into the kind of, let's say activation. I'm using that word again, but yeah, into full manifestation, into something that's a little bit more direct. So yeah, the soft setup finishing in Pisces, and then in Aries, people will be like, "Show me those aliens. Where are the aliens? I know you got them." And I don't think they got them, but that's where people are at. Russia cycle. Yeah, I think the aliens. I'm gonna say you could look to Jeffrey Epstein more so. Yeah, elites that are thinking they're another race of people, reinforcing that with fancy technology, genetic engineering, human abduction, human experimentation, sexual manipulation and experimentation. I think that's where you're going to see it. Fancy flying machines, technology that they want to, yeah, use for themselves and not give anybody else, and create a mythology around that. I think that's probably, yeah, aliens, but I'm open, totally open, yeah, to whatever it might be. Plus demons, I think a huge part of it is demonic activity.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, just to see like some of this numerology stuff again, whether or not you believe it, obviously people with a tremendous amount of impact, wealth, power believe in it or at least employ it, right? So you have the Super Bowl halftime show, exactly 13 minutes and 41 seconds.
mm,
Exact. So they it was timed exactly. Bad Bunny, who knows, with the, you know,
mm,
that thing is I was not particularly enthusiastic about that. But again, 13 minutes and 41 seconds. So this is
mm,
chosen, right? It's happening at a specific time. There's an exact timing for this event. You know,
mm. Yeah,
potentially just to increase the impact, right? But
for sure. Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
do you need me to bring up the next
oh,
packet, or do you have more? I can bring that. I can add that other one to the stage, or
oh, I have the chart.
you have your slide. Oh, I can control it
Yeah,
too. Wow,
yeah, yeah. So
I have
if
so
you
much
want to,
power.
if you want to jump, we could jump to a chart if you want. Actually, let me finish this page.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
I'll let you. I'll go back. I changed your page. So go ahead.
Oh no, yeah, that's all good. Yeah, it's the one that we're on there. I think is yeah. So we get into Russia. So Russia very much activated in the cycle. And last summer, while this was warming up, Russia had a huge earthquake and volcano eruption. The volcano has been active ever since they discovered it, but it was a big, yeah, blow up and 8.8 magnitude earthquake on the eastern coast. Yeah, so right near China, and didn't kill a lot of people. They kind of knew it was coming, but it's in Kamchatka, which is featured in the game Risk, if you will recall. That's a, yeah, particularly a strategic kind of side piece in Risk. And then in August, we had the World Humanoid Robot Games in Beijing. June 2025, we had a strike on Iranian nuclear facility that ramped up, and then there was a 12-day conflict basically in June after the Israel and United States intensified attacks on Iranian nuclear facilities. There were some kind of, yeah, blockbuster moments there. and then a subsequent ceasefire, which was fragile, failed, and then finally we brokered a peace plan in October. So this was, this activation or this pre-activation last summer was already, waning, decreasing in potency when the ceasefire happened, and now things ramped back up with February 20th. So we come to the full activation. Oh wait, maybe yeah. Come to the full activation this spring or this winter, and Israel and Iran, Israel, U.S. and Iran ramps up again. Now we're in talks. Yeah, so it seems like today, we might be seeing the same pattern where things ramp up very quickly, get very hot, very dramatic, and then quickly resolve, or at least, for a temporary period. Now, whether we're going to see a shift in the pattern now that we're in the full activation, that's something I'm very curious about, because this has been very persistent. But if we start to see, especially, some like structural, macro changes and who comes to the table, about the ceasefire, that type of thing, I think that could indicate a lot about where we're going with it. But yeah, probably the next couple months is still going to be very profound, and maybe even a regime change in Iran. Over the next month or so, or less. So February 20th this year, a couple weeks ago, Saturn Neptune in the same place in the sky, and not visible from the naked eye, but definitely visible, from the soul. Headlines we had right around February 20th, U.S. Supreme Court struck down President Trump's global tariffs, escalating tensions and a feared potential war with Iran, and arrest of Prince Andrew in connection with Jeffrey Epstein. So Epstein, very much following this. Big was getting really hot last summer, come back around a major way this spring, this winter. Heading into spring. I keep thinking spring because we're talking about Aries, and it's getting a little bit warmer now, but still a little shy of the spring equinox. So February 23rd, 2026, a couple weeks ago, headlines include a deadly security breach at Mar-a-Lago. So President Trump's global tariffs shut down. Mar-a-Lago's breached by a guy with a gas can and a gun, and shot dead by security. But 13% drop happened in IBM stock due to Anthropic. Their Claude releasing a new tool. AI disruptions, Trump vulnerability, Slavic Ukraine oil and electric dispute. That's a big one. Intriguing. I haven't fully comprehended it, but essentially, there's kind of posturing of distrust between Slovakia and Ukraine, and Ukraine provides the oil, Slovakia provides infrastructure and backup electric to Ukraine during this war. So that's an interesting one. Haven't had anything quite like that in this conflict yet. War against Mexican gangs ramped up right around that time, late February. Now also ripening. Of course, the past week, British political figure Peter Mandelson arrested also for misconduct relating to Epstein. So some big cards falling in that house of the Epstein case. Saturn and Neptune have been in the same astrological sign since March 7th, 2023. So this really shows, if you widen the scope to the same sign, so the same 1/12 of the sky, then you get a pretty long duration for the Saturn-Neptune. Can stretch here 5 years. So March 7th, 2023 is when they first came into the same, let's say, castle, the same property, and started operating from there, not fully together, but they're starting to, as two institutions, have a conference and a big appointment where they're going to sort through all sorts of affairs, all sorts of, interests, conflicts, and whatnot. And so as they were traversing through Pisces, they then built up, as we were just showing, and then stepped into the first degree of Aries together. So the very 0 degree of Aries, the most formative of the entire zodiac, most people would say, that is where these two planets have just met. So it's a very, potentially page turning, chapter turning, paradigm shifting, type of energy. And they're going to remain here in Aries together until 2028. So when you see it mixing with the Uranus-Gemini war cycle, the Pluto-Aquarius technology, war and revolution, and major paradigm shift type of significations, where it can get anywhere into this brew, and activate really, where you kind of show a full reveal anywhere up until April 2028. March 2023, when these started sharing a sign, that was a very powerful time. Also, precisely when Pluto entered Aquarius, like I mentioned, the AI revolution, the banks, the collapse of First Republic and Silicon Valley Bank, two large mid-sized banks, signaled to the stock market that the Federal Reserve would have to stop raising interest rates and stop, essentially this great fear of never-ending rising interest rates in 2022. So these banks failed. Everyone realized the Fed would have to start giving us money again, pumping out that that free money, and so they did. And the stock market went up. And March 2023 began the second major stock market boom of the 2020s that recently peaked. And I think it probably is the peak. I'm not sure if SPY is going to hit 7,000. The S&P 500 reach 7,000 again, but it might. It's possible, but we could be in a major turning here. I'm really curious there, hesitant about the indexes in the stock market. Since March 2023, as I mentioned, these themes have been very strong, very persistent. Ukraine, Israel, social things. Trump, U.S. revision, and now in March 2026, Uranus is still just shy of Gemini. So that war cycle, we're seeing how this very convenient drift in these three major significations is allowing for the system to breathe just enough at certain times to avoid this full convergence and kind of undeniable manifestation of these three things. And so that's going to happen coming up in May. In May we will be in the full on. So get ready, get conditioned. And so now I'm gonna jump in. Now that's the setup, and we could talk more about what that projects, or we could look at the previous instance, which was 1989, and that would tell us kind of how that kind of ran its full course essentially, and then we could project that, or we could just project from what we just seen. What do you think?
Let's go ahead and project out first, maybe.
Mm-hmm. So it looks like, these things have to reconcile some way. And there's a largely innovative quality to the Saturn-Neptune, like the creation of the USSR, hugely innovative. And that's the type of thing I think that Trump is building up to. He's already loosened our relationship to globalist institutions. He's, ran Doge. Some of these things were not, as major as they seem to be, but some of them were for sure. He has backed out of big, the WHO, it's humongous. But then a lot of all the smaller climate treaties. I'm trying to remember exactly everything, but the tariff revision, revisioning the economic relationship, very big, and setting up for what a lot of people have been anticipating, being this this post or the post World War II, kind of postmodern, essentially the end of the complacency that we've experienced since World War II, where we had a balance of powers, with the U.S. as the pillar, being the global police, global kind of financial bailout source, and now we are seeing more horizontalizing effective power. The developing nations are rising, forming new coalitions, and China is leveling up big time to where it can actually start to do a little toe-to-toe type of posturing. And BRICS, of course, is their major proposal, their major kind of transition posturing for overtaking the U.S. and Russia being in the middle of that. It's a huge question, whether Putin will swing China or swing U.S. There's some speculation about that, and I think Trump has sort of masterfully danced around that possibility. But if you imagine what a fully effective counter to BRICS, to China and its potential, its strong allies as well as its opportunistic allies, it would look like something. If China lost Russia, it would definitely swing the whole of the balance of power toward back toward the United States. Even if they didn't support China, they wouldn't even need to ally with us. But I kind of see a possibility of a Russia, India, Israel, Eastern Europe, and some of Central and South America type of coalition, and then some tussles, a little bit of friction, how that would all get negotiated. But also, I could see Russia and the United States doing a showdown, because also in this Pluto cycle, it's kind of Russia, the Eastern Orthodox world, defending traditional culture and traditional Christianity and kind of the classical world, and the United States, is the modern world, the Western Holy Roman Empire, and globalism, versus anti-globalism in Russia. So very much also sets up for a full showdown between us and Russia. Russia joining China, and us getting some Eastern European countries on our side. Kind of a new marbling of coalitions, and that creating a true, a true balance of power that we could see dominate, basically this century. With technocracy as the, as the clothing, that it would wear, I would say. But what are things you've been picking up on?
Oh no, I'm just listening. So, um, I mean, so basically though, we're in sort of a there's a major shifts going on right now, and it could sort of fall in different directions. I mean, it in my estimation, based on what's going on, I think that doesn't seem to bode too well for America at this point, just in terms of global market disruption, de-dollarization. Um, Depending on how far this goes on, a loss of the loss of all the bases in the Middle East. I mean, these are pretty major
Mm-hmm.
deleterious consequences thus far. Who knows, right? That's, I mean, at least it doesn't seem that good. I mean, we're looking at, like, we already have lots of inflation and this and that. I mean, and then we look at sort of the return, whatever Obama 2.0 coming in the midterms potentially, right? So, or because it go a different way. I don't know. It just seems
Mm-hmm.
kind of unwise choices to use these conjunctions in a way that may not lead to the best, at least for those living in America, the best outcomes. Not, obviously we've had it pretty easy for a long time, but I don't know. Do you think so? You kind of see like a positive, the positive outcome scenarios from the current events, or do you think it's sort of a minor disruption, or do you think it's going to be a total shift in the world order as it has been?
I think it will be a total shift in the world order. I think it might not feel like it, just like absolutely suddenly, like a COVID, felt, but I think it will. But COVID also, it did leave lasting changes, but it did not change the whole of things, itself. And I think, this is more like Trump is definitely, postures. He's loosening the reins enough, for putting enough play in the system for the ability to make some major posturing shifts. Reveal that he's building new bases, in a new location, much bigger than the other bases, and much more publicly and imposingly. Or, that would even still be a little bit old world. It's a little bit like everything's blasé. What can they possibly do to actually shift the paradigm? Because this paradigm has inflated, given so much room for so many different expressions that can all be contained, underneath it. And I think, we are going to get into some kind of uncontainable qualities. And I hope the U.S. does not make a huge move, because, like you said, this Neptune Saturn linking to Russia, linking to promises that don't actually bear out over time, definitely not in the way that they're supposed to. I think, that could be ominous if the U.S. tries to make a major move right in this month. But I think posturing in this month, and letting some other countries play their cards. It is possible that we get some kind of major new coalition or major new proposal. Like we've been anticipating something like major debt restructuring. Or China saying that we are no longer going to buy any U.S. bonds for sure. Like just completely cut off the way that we cut off Russia. Something like that. I don't anticipate that. I think it is going to be something kind of out of left field. But the tariffs and these wars, they do very much indicate some of the long-standing potential fracture points, in this balance of power. Israel, sorry, India, Pakistan, Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Palestine. These are deep-rooted things. China, Taiwan, kind of deep-rooted, not really, really that old, but a part of one of the most rooted ancient cultures. And yeah, China. So we have these situations that are undeniable, and I can't exactly dream up what the system would propose, but I know what I'm feeling in this energy, and it is an appeal to um, appeal to a fresh perspective, appeal to taking and reclaiming the path into a non-path in a sense, like canceling it in its tracks, replacing it with something else, recharacterizing it, through a Socratic process. And so I'm waiting, to see somebody, pop that off on the global stage, and a group of nations, or a particular like example, just like the United States with our revolution, 1700s, that set a major example that then rippled throughout the world, and we could see something like that, something small initially, we're like a small country even, but making a profound shift in terms of how power is is operated and organized, and in the system. So that could be a social uprising. There's a lot of social uprisings which I could get into in this history. A lot of social uprisings and innovative social movements. So I could see that, and then that spreading, or like communism, started in one formative way and then spread across the world. Or tried to. Um, so that's I don't have an exact. I think that's part of the nature of it. It's not as mysterious as a Pluto. Like you're reading that clip from the Bolsheviks, but but Neptune definitely has surprises up its sleeves. Uh, so expect the unexpected a little bit. With this, and I mean, I'll be amazed if Iran does one way or another. If it resolves without um, a major shift in our relationship with Iran, or a regime in Iran, um, or does not get really hot again, just kind of hums along in this awkward negotiating phase with ceasefire, I'd be very, very surprised. I do think we're going to see some pivots
Uh,
around Iran on the big scene.
well, yeah, I mean, there's sort of the just a very big, depending on what outcome you want. Oh, by the way, I do have to wrap this up at 1, so we can maybe bring up
Oh,
those charts. Yeah, I do. Yeah,
yeah,
I have about 20 minutes, but
yeah.
the the whole thing with Shia, right? So Shia Islam is based upon the martyrdom of Hussein, right, the prophet's
Mhm.
grandson. So Khomeini, he was at his office working, 86 years old, most likely knew he would die, right? So he already was old. He said, even 20 years ago, he said, I'd rather die in my office than die, in an old whatever in a hospital. So you just created a very powerful mythological symbol, that's going to have it has the exact opposite effect of weakening support for the regime, even people that don't like it, right? And you have sort of this archetypal mythos invoked
Mhm.
in that thing. So I think that's probably not the best. Unfortunately, like there's some awareness, right? You could call of not just projecting a certain Western mindset, but also understanding Shia and Sunni Islam are very different, right? I mean, there's a lot of different things. So, anyways, so be it. I don't think we're gonna have just. It's not gonna go back to business as usual. I think that's pretty much impossible. But hopefully, this is gonna finish soon, and we'll move into this exciting new potential future, right? I hope so. So.
Do you think the Iranian regime could go kind of full apocalyptic crazy? When pinned and the head cut off, and the
I,
example
I,
that
I,
is
I
cool.
no, I mean they're simply doing in a war of attrition. So, but they have quite a lot of stockpiles, and they'll just keep going. And so the question is whether the political and economic costs will be sustainable for. They're going to probably absorb a lot of damage, but I think they'll just continue at just a consistent pace, basically trying to create enough economic, social uh, consequences that it doesn't. There'll be too much political pressure to continue. I think that's their basic strategy, in my estimation, because it doesn't make sense for them to freak out. They just have to stay the course, as opposed to, you know, we're much, or the United States at least is much more out on a limb with this whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense for sure. Yeah, and that would be kind of a persistent, yeah, destabilization factor potentially that kind of be, yeah, utilized. Yeah, let's jump into the charts, and because yeah, somehow time is some. I have to do more practice runs because I had gargantuous amounts of information, yeah, for this, and yeah, and a couple whole other sections which are really interesting. So hopefully, yeah, can do another follow up on this, the part two, and dive into the '89 and 1953, and yeah, before that, yeah, going all the way back in the 1700s, some really amazing Saturn Neptune correlations there. But due to a really fun and fascinating, yeah, chart dive here to see, what this looks like in an astrological, kind of workstation. Looking at a chart, um, like the one that's right here, yeah, headlined on the slide. Um, if you stumble upon a chart like this, like I did a couple of days ago, um, and you're kind of, yeah, in a theme, looking for Neptune, ways that Neptune kind of yeah, excuse me, yeah, really shows its energy and crowns itself in society, the Federal Reserve, and then to look up the first day that they met at Jekyll Island to conceive the Federal Reserve and see a chart like this, it's hugely affirming and just exciting. It's like finding a gold nugget. And this chart, yeah, right here, does have two major oppositions that are almost crossing each other. But the most fascinating thing here is, yeah, to me when I first saw it, if you look at the left and right, you see a symbol on the very left, there kind of with the line between the red ram's horn symbol and the, the bull symbol there, the Taurus circle with the green on the left. There's a planet right in the middle, has just entered into the sign of Taurus with the green symbol, and that's Saturn, and it's at 1 degree, so it's freshly changed signs. Exactly opposite it is Jupiter. So Saturn, the old god, the old king; Jupiter, the new god, the new king, the prince with the fresh ideas, who's very exuberant, gregarious. Saturn, the old cranky ruler, clenching, to his power. They're opposite each other. So we have a major kind of development point, development hub, and the relationship between Saturn and Jupiter. And there's two thick black lines, that are also pointing toward Saturn, the other pointing toward Jupiter, and those are the horizon lines. Yeah, that's the eastern horizon on the left, the western on the right. Called the ascendant and descendant in astrology, and that's pretty easy to calculate. And it's pretty impressive that right here at this chart, 3:33 p.m., the first day of the Jekyll Island meeting, we have Saturn and Neptune, Saturn and Jupiter, Saturn at the eastern horizon, just barely over it, and Jupiter just barely under the western horizon. So they're burying Jupiter, the hope, the vision, the wisdom. They're lifting up Saturn, the control, the system, the man. And so crossing this, we have, at the top of the chart, a symbol that is Uranus, and at the bottom of the chart, we have a symbol that's Neptune. So we have these other major outer planets exactly opposite each other at the same time, with the moon exactly conjunct Neptune. So they're feeling, the moon, the internal experience is Neptune for them at this moment. They're embodying it, they're flowing with it, they're feeling it, feeling that Neptune takeover. And opposite Uranus, which is major activations, catalysts. Like I said, Uranus basically creates a shake on whatever scale it's dealing with. On the daily scale, even kind of as well, this line that's pointing toward Uranus at this very moment, 3:33 p.m., Jekyll Island, Georgia. Uranus is you can see a thick black line. Yeah, it's right in the middle, skewered by this thick black line. So, Saturn and Jupiter, that's about a couple degrees away, from those eastern and western horizon lines, but it's very profound in terms of how it's arranged. Saturn above, Jupiter below. These other lines are exactly on Neptune and Uranus, and that's the highest point in the sky. At the top of that chart, that is essentially the highest point that the sun can reach. And so Uranus is at that exact highest point, that most elevated point, right that moment. And the root is Neptune. And the moon, they're hidden. They're exactly opposite the highest point, so they're essentially straight down through the Earth. Perpendicular to the surface of the Earth at that exact place. And very, very powerful. But to calculate that, to know exactly where the sun's going to be at the exact highest point, and to somehow, or I think that's the work of the demonic type of force to make it that precise. I don't know if it's even possible that they could have calculated that for 3:33 on that day to arrive there, but it's possible. And we have Pluto and Gemini, also, so kind of this dueling energy. They're going to solve with the middle way, or with their response, their solution to the problem that they created. So this chart is it's amazing that you have something like that, while you have on the right side of the chart, kind of like the upper right, a big cluster of planets right there in Scorpio. So you're talking about Scorpio and the Bolsheviks. Well, that M with a tail on it, the blue symbol, to the right on the top, of the right side, that is Scorpio. And we've got Jupiter just entered Scorpio. So Jupiter is expanding the scorpionic energy. The good guy, is looking through not a bad lens. Scorpio is not bad, but these people utilizing it very much is. And so Jupiter is being warped into kind of a cutthroat role. It's with Mars, close proximity. It's with the South Node, again, kind of a rooting energy into Scorpio. And then we have Venus exactly conjunct the black moon Lilith. Lilith, like a Sephiroth in the Kilophot that you've covered. Venus, love, money itself, that flows in a Neptunian way, right on black moon Lilith. And that black moon Lilith and Venus conjunction is exactly trining Neptune and the moon. So that, I didn't even have to look for it. I went to that day, I went to 3:33, and there it was, just like that.
That's pretty wild. This is really it's quite interesting. So go ahead. Yeah, you can just continue with these charts here. So
Knights Templars. This coincides with Pluto and Aquarius. Major theme we've been covering in the series, and Pluto's right at the end of Aquarius. Templar Knights, the Order of Solomon's Temple. These are the basically the arbiters of the Holy Land, and the Kingdom State of Israel, the French Crusader state of Israel in the 1300s. They're arrested on this day, Friday the 13th, 1307, and right at that moment you have if you look at the top right, so 90-degree angle, aiming at the top right, also Scorpio. We have the blue M with a tail. You can zoom in there and you can see that 11, 12, and 13 degrees are occupied by Uranus, Neptune, and Saturn. So major activation here, just high power energy coming together, Saturn and Neptune, conjunction, amidst the Pluto Aquarius. So we have, this high intrigue, high esotericism, technology. Pluto Aquarius is also the Renaissance. It's the Enlightenment. It's just big power moves. It's the magician pirates taking over, and in this case, being arrested by the Catholic Church, which was quite a shock, and why we have the Friday the 13th tradition now. So, I'm not sure if they went, they're just hidden by the church because they're creating too much controversy, or if they were actually suppressed for a while. But that's basically the origin. Freemasonry, is the distribution, of that organization after they went underground. And I was going to touch on a few just really fascinating yeah, fascinating correlations with that. Uh, Pluto Aquarius, yeah, it's well, actually, yeah, no, we'll run through some charts because I was just gonna, well, yeah, just very, very brief snapshot of Pluto Aquarius to show in this 1532, following the 1300s, yeah, and late 1200s, you know, this Knights Templar and some other major moves happening, peak of the Crusades. You know, we also, yeah, one cycle later, yeah, saw the Protestant Reformation and fracture of Europe, Spanish Empire consolidating hold on the Americas, Ming Dynasty and Ottoman Empire reaching their heights, you know, Church of England, Protestant Reformation full swing, Thomas Cromwell, you know, dissolving the monasteries and you know, that Protestant Reformation process, distributing wealth, John Calvin, Jesuits founded, yeah, ostensibly the leading force in the Counter Reformation. Just kind of seeing the Jesuits, yeah, get some inheritance from the Knights Templars, their esoteric traditions, Copernicus, heliocentric theory. We get the first anatomy book, yeah, that was basically produced from direct, intricate dissection. Michelangelo completed the fresco Sistine Chapel, pretty much the greatest masterpiece yeah, of work of art in the world, definitely of high Renaissance. And Spain conquered the Incas, exactly this time period. Jacques Cartier, 1534, led 3 expeditions to North America, claiming Canada and France, first claiming Canada for France. Saint Xavier, bringing Christianity to Southeast Asia, India, and Japan, and founding schools there. So, kind of launching the global education system for the Jesuits. New laws of the Indies, begin a kind of progressive policy, nascent progressive policy, which was giving, yeah, more rights to the colonial, um, yeah, to the Indies. I think that's the yeah, front of the West Indies. But then Ottomans, yeah, Solomon or Solyman the Magnificent, big time zenith, yeah, of the Ottoman Empire, major expansions of the Ottoman Empire at that period. Ivan the Terrible, yeah, so basically founding Russia, centralizing power in Russia, expanding Russia what it is today. Yeah, Zhang Empire in China, the end of the Ming Dynasty, yeah, major rift. This guy was, yeah, trying to live forever instead of run the country. Yeah, kind of a decadent period for them. Woku pirates in Japan, who are actually Portuguese mixed with Chinese and Japanese. Yeah, rogue, yeah, merchants were ravaging the coast of China. That brought the down the Ming Dynasty, end of the Renaissance. Um, yeah, we had just major, major, major things happening. Yeah, big time alliances setting up for World War. Yeah, kind of eventually set up for World War One. Yeah, setting all that into motion. Girolamo, yeah, Cardano, the Ars Magna, the great art, huge milestone for mathematics. Basically, made it an open, yeah, an open collaborative experience. Same with botany, same with metallurgy. It pretty much just been magic. You know, before this guy, during this time period, publishes a book, explains it all, and all of a sudden everybody can, yeah, cast and create reliable tools, yeah, using metal. Just huge, huge things, followed by Kepler, Descartes, Shakespeare, Francis Bacon, who were born around this time. So yeah, just major, major themes that yeah, kind of see this quiet moment here with Knights Templars, seemingly, you know, quiet, but it, yeah, it's sort of one of the shadow developments in this otherwise, yeah, major uh, moving and shaken cycle. So kind of, yeah, just to zoom in, a lot of people speculate about Knights Templars. I think because they were a big part of the show at that, yeah, major conjunction, these 3 planets, it is quite significant. Um, and yeah, so we have some other charts that we could yeah, get into, kind of showing the top 2 charts of um, yes.
Luca, actually, I do have to go at
Oh,
one.
okay,
So,
yeah,
got
sorry.
about 4 minutes here. So maybe we could just
Yeah,
wrap up at this point because it's,
yeah,
yeah. But this, yeah, there's fascinating. So we can do a part two on this. But so we do see that even some people, they predicted the date of the attack, based on the astrological significance, whether or not that date of the attack was pre-chosen based on the conjunctions, or where the cart follows the horse or whatever. But um, Why don't you want to give any closing thoughts and tell people where they can find your work, and we'll come back and get into some more of these um, planetary configurations. So,
Yeah, for sure. Can find me mostly at conspiracytrivia.com. So I've got a conspiracy trivia game, and really, yeah, gearing that up for some big moves this spring. Going to be making some changes, and there's an email address contact on there if y'all have criticism, comments, or troubleshooting, send it there. But it should work. I would highly recommend playing it on a computer right now. We're working on the mobile version still, and had some big kind of delays there, but we're going to roll out really smooth phone version soon on the computer. It looks excellent, plays well. You can jump straight to conspiracytrivia.com/login for even that expedited start. Don't have to go through the intro, but it is fun. We built some great little animations for it. It's grassroots operation, but big time vision. I mean, basically, I'm ready to win. I think good is ready to win, and I'm ready to give it all my all to help us flourish and be amazing and get out of all these snares, all these tangles, and realize our immense opportunities. I mean, it's a wonderful time right now to correct, to clarify, and to usher in the possibilities. You have just good, wonderful, organic, reconciled humanity. So that's what I'm bringing to the table a little bit more, and maybe I'll drop Hans a link that he can mention the this show upcoming, even without me, but just mention that I've launched a website on that front. So that's something I'm going to do really soon. And I think it's going to be howgoodwins.com. I'm not exactly sure, but I've got a couple other names, that are contending. But got some great things in the works. Email me through the contact at conspiracytrivia.com.
all right, great. Any investment ideas, real quick, while we're at this? Anything? No.
Well,
Something comes to mind, like the
I did,
quick cash out. I'm trying to become a billionaire this year, so let me know.
You talked to me last time, and I didn't say anything. Hans can verify. I texted him, messaged him a long time ago about a company, and I was really into it. It was my main investment, and they rocketed up like 5x last year. So that was a big success, and but I don't have anything at the exact moment. I just pulled up one, Rackspace Technologies. It's a computer cloud provider, old school, but they've been trying to figure out how they fit into this new AI called Paradigm. They partner with Palantir, went up a lot. That was an interesting one. But being very selective. I'm fascinated by Hedera Hashgraph, HBAR. That's the crypto I think is the most interesting to research. It's the one that I have the most money in right now. And I think that, XRP. XRP's got quite a fantastic following. And speculation around it. I have some money in there, but next time, or we could even do, we could definitely focus a whole section or a whole show on financial astrology, something we've been talking about doing. And we're in some wild territory. I said that last time, and I should have been a little more confident in just where I was at in the market and shared that. But I'll prepare, some insights, on that front for next time.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Luke, and thanks to everybody for watching the show. All right. Have a wonderful day, evening, morning, weekend, whatever day or time you are encountering this. Bye-bye.
Bye, Hans. Celebrate it. Love ya.